Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Civilization 6. Today, we've got another coaching session for you. It was greatly demanded by you folks that we do more of this stuff, and today we've got it. Today I am joined by Ed. Ed, say hello.
How you doing?
There's Ed. And Ed is about 100, 150 hours of experience in the game. We're going to be playing on Prince difficulty. This is going to be a really good tool, I think, for you guys to use for a lot of you who just kind of know the game a little bit and want to get a little bit better. That's essentially what Ed's doing here today, is just trying to figure out a way to just get a little bit better at the game, understand it a little bit more. And so I think you're going to find this very valuable in that sense. And so like I said, he's got about 150 hours of the game, and it's really just about, not necessarily, like I said, Ed, this isn't like, a guide on you're a Prince player and I'm going to make you a DD player by watching this video. It's much more about just becoming a little bit more efficient. You're getting by in the games, you can win, and you do okay, but you're trying to figure out a little bit of the details as to why you're not better, why you're not getting wins a little bit faster, or how come I'm doing this. I'm doing it because people are telling me it's the right thing to do, but I don't know exactly why. And so this is really about giving you some information on making better decisions, or making the decisions and knowing why you're doing it. And so that's essentially what we're going to do. Today, we're playing Australia, and I believe it's a continents map we're playing on. And got ourselves a pretty good start here. It's nothing too crazy OP strong, but it's going to be pretty solid. So let's jump in and take a look at what we've got. So we're standing on a plains hill. So if we settle in place, of course, we'll get a 2-2 base. Keep in mind, for those of you wondering how you figure that out, every settle is going to have 2 food and 1 production, no matter what you do. But if the base minus features, so the trees are a feature, the feature will get deleted. So you're gonna you'll lose the tree, which is production. So, but because it's a 1-3 tile, you've got the plains and the hill that gives you 2 production. So when you settle in place here, you would get 2 production. Now there would be the option potentially to move around and settle. If you were somebody other than Australia, you might move to fresh water. You might consider settling on the dyes or something like that. But as Australia, of course, settling on the coast, you're going to get lots of housing regardless of fresh water. And that's always good. So, yeah, Ed, just talk to me a little bit about your thought. And would you consider doing anything other than settling in place here? Or?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, even if we were talking like not Australia, I would, just having watched you guys do this a lot, one of the ones I definitely would do is that idea is like, I wouldn't do it here, but sometimes, say if there's a river or something here and you could come here, like to keep like the 1-3 and bring that 2-2 in and have this 2-2, like I would consider doing that, right?
Yeah, if you had fresh water and have multiple good tiles. Because that's certainly one thing about this settle. Like there's good tiles around, but there's only the one good tile on the first ring. And so you'll have to, of course, want to be growing into a good tile, and you got some good resources. Of course, the game favors resources when it's growing into tiles, so there's stuff like that to consider. And yeah, certainly, like if you're somebody other than Australia, you might consider settling on the dyes to get the 2-2 base. But the problem with that would be you'd be working essentially a 1-3 tile, right? Like, because you wouldn't have any 2-2s or anything like that in that circle, so that would make it a difficult choice as well.
And I would even say with that, like if I've thought about that, and sometimes when I've done stuff like that, I don't know how right this is or isn't, is if I did step there, I would sometimes consider like just working the 3, the marsh, just to get growth, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is you're in that tough spot, right? Because if you work the 1-3, you're going to produce stuff quickly, but it's going to take you forever to grow. Yeah. But if you work the 3 food tile, it's really, really rough, because while you're going to grow a little bit faster, or significantly faster, you're going to be incredibly slow early on, and that is just, especially in your first city, those first 5-10 turns are so important, and to be not adding any extra production is just, if you got to start like that, then I would just suggest rolling it again. Honestly. Sorry. I just got a weird thing there. So anyway, no matter what, you always want to move your warrior first before you settle, because you never know what you're going to see. There could be a wonder over here for all we know, right? So go ahead and click your warrior over there if you want, and we'll see what we've got.
Yeah, and so here's my thing. Like, I typically, when I would start a warrior, like I would probably this makes sense. I would probably go here, right? Because I get to see here, right? I don't think there's any reason to go over here or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, with your opening move, try to find as much information as possible. And I think you're going to find more information by moving the 2 tiles, for sure. And, you don't have fast movement on.
Oh, do I have to set that?
Yeah, I think it's in settings. It'll just make your life quicker. Go to settings, or options, sorry, and then interface, probably.
Oh, wait, no, I think it might have been game right here.
Game? Oh, it is. Quick movement. Yeah, quick movement enabled. There you go.
Do we want to do combat or anything else? Or?
Combat enabled. Quick combat enabled as well. Yeah, I don't think you need to see that. I mean, it's fine. Like if people enjoy watching it, but for the purposes of the video, having things go slowly is probably not the best. Lots of people like to play with it on just because it's part of the experience, and there's nothing wrong with it. So, all right, we can head back to the game there. So I mean, we didn't learn a whole lot extra there. There wasn't a whole lot of doubt about what we were going to do here. You settle in place. You get your 2/2 base. We're going to work a 2/2 tile with Faith, so that's going to mean a quick Pantheon. We're going to be able to make a choice there on what to do. So you see there, Ed just quickly opened it up and locked in that tile. Some people may not do that. Some people may not want to take that much detail behind things. Another option you can do is below, just above the name of the city, but below the circles, you can see there's different things like that. A lot of people will just click, like I did, the food and production tile. And then what you could do is when you start a city, you can click in the food and production tile. The game will always prioritize doing food and production as a priority for tiles to be worked. And then you can just kind of set it and forget it and never have to worry about it again. And that could be certainly an easy thing for people to do. And I think that's certainly something I would suggest for a lot of people. But some people, if you want to take the time to micromanage and make sure a tile is being worked that you really want to work, you can lock it in as well. And it works just as well. So that's up to you.
I actually tend to do both, because there are times I've found there are times when I'm playing the game, because I don't like to micromanage that much, where I've just done these and I'll come back in and I'll find the game has made some weird choices.
Always, yeah, it's true. It doesn't always make the perfect decision for food and production. So if you do have time to check it and micromanage it a little bit, it can save you a little bit, but it's certainly not 100% of a necessity by any means. But moving on, like I said, we're working at 2/2 with Faith. Now, a lot of you who may play on standard speed might be wondering, okay, how come everything's going so quickly? We are playing online speed today. It's not necessary to say that, everything we're saying and talking about is going to be completely valid on playing any game speed. In Ed's case, he's one of those people, like many of you, I'm sure, who doesn't necessarily have 6 or 8 hours every day to dedicate to a game. He might find a couple hours here and there between work and kids and stuff to play the game. And I'm sure a lot of you are like that. And so, you play online speed. The one major thing about playing online speed is that movement is much more crucial, because movement is kind of the one thing that doesn't scale at all, right? Is you still have the same number of tiles to work. You still takes the more time to move around to tiles, to find goodie huts, do all that kind of stuff. And proportionally, you just have less time to improve tiles or to move things and do stuff like that. Compared to the total game speed. So, yeah, not a big deal, but, there's that. As far as technology is concerned, fishing boats would be a decent idea here, because we do have a turtle that we were going to want to grab. Animal husbandry would be also a very smart idea, because we'll be able to find our horses, and, of course, horses are really nice. So those would be my 2 choices. Mining, I wouldn't necessarily worry about, because we don't have anything to do with it. The one thing I always say to people is if you get a goodie hut or a tribal village, whatever you want to call it, and you get a builder from it in the first 5, 6, 8 turns, whatever, are you going to be able to do anything with it, right? So if you were to get mining right now and get a goody hut with a builder in it in 4 or 5 turns, will you be able to do anything with it? Well, you'll be able to make a 1-3 tile, but are you going to work the 1-3 tile? Probably not. You're probably going to want to work the 2-2 tiles that you're going to go to. So you've got a lot of need for irrigation. Irrigation you can't get right away. You got either the fishing boat or you got animal husbandry to find your horses. I think I would probably go with animal husbandry in this case because we're actually kind of hurting for 2-2 tiles at the moment. We've got the 2-2, obviously we're working, and then a couple of cocoa tiles. But finding a horse or two could be a bit of a game changer for the city. So I think finding those first would be a big deal here. If you had like say 2 reef fish, then I'd probably go sailing. But you know, hitting that reef fish up right now, especially for those of you who watch me playing BBG and stuff, where you get an extra production on fishing boats, that would be a completely different decision. But since we're not playing BBG, then the fishing boat's just going to add a food. It's going to be a 3-1 tile. It's not bad, but we're going to rather work all the 2-2 tiles anyway. So the fishing boat's not going to make a big difference. So anyway, let's move along here. We've hit next turn, it looks like. Now, one thing I will talk about for scouting, and I'm not going to micromanage you. You go ahead and move around however you feel. Very nice. Found a river. Very nice. Good to always to see. Now, of course, as Australia, you're going to probably want to stick to the coast for the most part anyway. But when I am scouting, the one thing I try to tell people is don't just move in one direction. Don't just like beeline it and just walk straight away from your capital in some cases. Because early on, what you want to do is you want to find out where the best place is to put a city when your settler comes out, right? Where am I going to put my first settler? It's kind of the decision you got to ask yourself. And so if you walk in straight lines away from your capital, then you might not be learning all the information you need to make an informed decision on that. So, just kind of, especially with your next scout as well, you'll kind of want to make sure you're going in different spots. Got a boost to writing. That's not the greatest. But we'll take it, I guess, if you got to take it. Now, in this case, this is a decision on online speed. You could wait a turn and start a settler. So sometimes people will shift enter into a settler. Sometimes people will grab another scout. If I'm working a 2-2 base and I'm able to work a 2-2 tile, I always go 2 scouts because it's so much more efficient. So I would hit. Yeah, go ahead.
So that's a question I have for you. So people talk about this, right? This idea of shift entering into a settler. Mm-hmm. What does that gain mean? Because versus just selecting a settler, what is shift entering into a settler?
Well, you can't build a settler or select a settler until you have 2 population, right?
Oh, because I'm on 1-1. Okay.
Yeah. And so you're 1 turn away from getting there. And so if you shift enter, you're essentially taking the 6 production your city was going to produce.
And just banking
it, so you'll have a full production's worth of turn to pump into the settler. So the settler will take 6 turns next time instead. And then, of course, if you're working another 2-2 tile, then that would also help. Okay. But yeah, you've got carryover production that you'll lose if you shift enter as well, and you're working a 2-2 base and a 2-2. But that's details we don't need to get into. Okay. In this case, just I would get a scout for sure, and it's always nice to have scouts because you're going to find goody huts and you're going to help you get ear score, find wonders, whatever, and it gives you a good chance at getting a golden age early on, which can be helpful sometimes. So
getting golden age early has been. I think it's rare that I ever get a golden age on my first. And it
can be tricky, but the thing is the first golden age isn't all that crucial unless you have unless you're like a monumentality civ and you're going to have a lot of faith production, then it's huge. But if you're a regular civ that's not going to have faith production and you're not going to be running monumentality, like you're not going to get a lot of value out of the other golden ages anyway. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Look at this.
I don't even know what to say.
I swear to you, I did not look at this map beyond the opening set.
I don't even know what to say about that.
I'm not saying that.
Well, we know which direction our settler's going in. All right. So we can keep moving. That's good to know. Another thing I'll suggest as well is sometimes it's not a bad idea to check out your settler lens. So I'm not sure. I have my hotkey set to 1 on settler lens, but there's a hotkey for it. I'm not sure if it's 4 or what on because I changed mine around. But it's sometimes not a bad idea when you're exploring to look at this because
It is 4.
it is 4. Okay.
Oh.
So yeah, that's insane. But sometimes what will happen is you can see, like, let's pretend that the far right hand tile that's a 2-2. If that was red, then you would be like, oh, okay, so there might be a city state there. So you can walk towards the city state and make sure you don't make a mistake to miss it. So that's a little bit of a tiny little hint as to something you can do to just be a little bit more efficient in your movement. Is every turn or two or something like that, you can just hit the 4 button really quick. Do I see any red tiles that shouldn't be red? And if you do, then there you go. So yeah, okay, so then next turn there, we're going to get another scout. And I like what you've done here. You've gone in opposite directions. And then now, of course, this settler or this scout, you can just head out, move towards the right, and you're going to kind of have a really good idea of everything that's around your capital, which is really good. Another thing that we found out is we found horses in our main city here. So look at that. So let's talk a little bit about, obviously we're going to go settler here. Got a couple scouts out. And people are like, why is it obvious that we're going with a settler? Well, the earlier the better. Getting, especially like your first 2 or 3 settlers, you want to get them out. You want to get them settled. Even if you're not going to a place like this, that's just the promised land of amazing tiles. You want to do that specifically because the earlier you start them, the earlier they build their monument, the earlier they build their first district. And we'll talk a little bit more about the details behind that as we move along, and how making those decisions and getting those out quickly makes a huge difference in the pace of your game. And ultimately, I think that's what it's about. Is people hear me say the word tempo? It's really about pace. It's about doing things faster, making decisions that allows your game to go more quickly and allows you to get more things done and be more efficient. So yeah, you can go ahead and keep exploring there. So we've got animal husbandry.
Do I beeline irrigation now? Like that's
you kind of need it for sure. The value is unbelievable. For you to get irrigation here, so I would definitely grab pottery now. You're not going to really use that.
Granary.
You're not going to really use mining at all. Sailing's not bad here either, for sure. One thing that would be valuable is a boost to irrigation, but I'm not really sure. Did we see? There's a race down there, but that's
like it's all the way down there. Like I don't think there's weed up. Like there's nothing really.
There's not really value to. Yeah, like that's the thing is it can be rather inefficient to go to do it, but the value is just so huge. It's going to obviously give you tons of gold and luxuries.
Do I? Here's the question. Like, do I try to? Because I'm not.
No, it's not worth it's not worth that amount of gold. It's not.
No, it's not. Because I try to game it. It's still going to go here.
Yeah, so, no, it's not worth that much amount of gold to get a boost irrigation here. But yeah. As far as this, so this is a situation up here with this guy. You've got 3. I would almost walk away 1 turn and then come back, because in 3 turns you're going to be able to put in the barb card to give you a little bit of help to kill it if you wanted to. And certainly clearing out. Actually, you know what? I don't think I would walk away, because it's not going to spawn units. It might be just spawning galleys or something like that. You can just stand there. If it spawns units, it'll be in the water anyway. Sometimes if you're standing next to a barb clamp, I think it's 2 or 3 turns of default where it'll just spawn a unit because you're standing beside it. But in this case, you'll be fine. I believe the game spawns galleys now instead of quadrims more often than not. So I think you'll be fine. But yeah, you're working a 2/2 tile with faith. You're working a 2/2 tile with gold. So you're getting lots of extra yields here. You've got another 2/2 at horses. You'll have in 5 turns another cocoa tile. Like, things are really going well here. Good gold production. You could potentially be saving up for a builder or something like that to buy. So yeah, I think just keep on moving. See where we go.
I'm actually just gonna
Yeah, you have
just
two
in
turns.
case.
Yeah, just 2 turns. You always want to fortify for sure in that case, just in case he did happen to hit you or something like that. Just glorious, glorious tiles over there. Now it's different because as Australia, making the decisions over to settle with Australia would be a little bit different because settling on the coast has so much value comparatively. So, um, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, appeal is important, and all that jungle is not going to be great for appeal. But if you're on the coast, you're going to have like the rice tile. There's breathtaking, and there's another tile out on the point. So,
I think we'll talk to it when we get to it.
yeah, we
I'm
can
just
talk about it for
like
sure.
because I'm thinking about this idea of like coming down here. I'm actually kind of I think I have an idea of where I want to settle, but I'm curious to have that conversation when we get to it.
Yeah, for sure. When we get to that conversation, there's definitely not one right answer in that situation. So, yeah, here we go. We got one more turn to policy cards, and then you'll be able to go to town. We got diamonds as well on this continent. Some really good options, honestly, on where you can potentially move here. Which is nice. It's always nice to have lots of options. North, we're not the greatest, right? Like if you just look to the north, along the coast, like just no, not even that far north. Okay, there's the galley spawn there. So in this case, I put in discipline in order to help take down this barb camp. And
Normally, I would be.
yeah. So the thing is that normally you would probably want to put in God King because you want to go after a Pantheon. But in this case, you actually get the benefit of just putting in a planning and going into production, which is more valuable than a gold and a faith. One thing you could do in this situation is you could run God King for the first tech, if you wanted to, in order to just get there that much faster. Especially if you're playing in a multiplayer game where there's might be one Pantheon that's really valuable and lots of people tend to like it. So you just want to get there that much faster by working 2 faith a turn and get there in 2 turns instead of 3 or 4 or 5. But in this case, on single player, there's no doubt about it in my mind. I would just take the production all day long, and
because I don't have like I'm not really looking to do religious, so I'm not really that concerned about trying to chase one down.
Yeah,
so like,
and you've actually got a couple of good options in this case. So yeah, it's not like you're locked into having to have one. To be honest with you, I would honestly say Culture from Plantations at this point would be an insane Pantheon for you, just because you're going to make so many of them.
All right, so abundant resources just went freaking crazy on this map.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah, it's a good hint for people out there wondering about how to find really good spawns. New World Age, Rainfall Wet if you want to do it. Ooh, there's Vatican City. Speaking of extra faith per turn, we got a first meet on them, so that's going to be an extra faith per turn. Now we're at 2 faith because we got that free envoy, which is always great. But yeah, abundant resources is really nice. Okay, so there's a barb camp down there, but that's actually not that big of a deal. It's actually in a way kind of a good thing because it could help you potentially get your score. So that's good. Vatican City wants you to recruit a great scientist. Yeah, we could probably get to that before too long. So there you go.
This is just me. I'm just looking because I'm just trying to remember what they do for suzerain. Okay.
Yeah, so it's more of a religion spread. There's not really much value in them unless you were going for a religion victory, and even then, it's not that.
I think I did find it handy. I played one game where somebody was hard religion on me, and I think I accidentally had suzerain of Vatican City for some reason. It kept me from getting overrun, if I remember correctly.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So now that you've got the card in, I would definitely start hitting this guy. You've got a bit of a... Well, that's not a bad roll, I think. You're not the greatest. You might want to heal for a turn and then go back at him. Just so you can kind of keep the edge on him. Now, as far as code of laws, or culture, so if you go into your civics tree there, we'll decide on a... so in this case, I generally would suggest getting to the settler card, which is an early empire. So if you go foreign trade into early empires, generally really good advice because you get your trade route up. Obviously, when you get to foreign trade, you can get your trade routes. And that early empire, you get the colonization card, which allows you to get 50% production towards settlers, which means, you get your first couple settlers out without it, but then, like 15, 20 turns from now, you can put that settler card in and pump out another 1 or 2 settlers really quickly. Whereas on the top there's not as much value in craftsmanship unless you're like you're playing on really high difficulty and there's a really close neighbor that's going to send units at you and you want to be able to build units faster. Not really that big a deal.
And I don't really have the way to boost it either, really.
Yeah,
everything's in irrigation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, you can just keep on trucking along here, I think, and we'll move along. I think, like I said, you might want to fortify the warrior for a turn here, just because you're probably losing that battle.
I thought Clay must feel.
Because keep in mind he's fortified and he's on a hill, right? So if you hover over top of him, I think it's going to be like a pretty big defeat. Over top of the spearman, the barbarian. It'll tell you, yeah, like you're getting a pretty major defeat there, and you're doing another major defeat. He might actually retaliate and hit you and kill you. So you may want to just fortify there for a minute. Now in this case, I would probably. It's kind of tricky because I'm looking at potential settling locations and things like that, and trying to determine where the best spots would be, and then learning by scouting. Oh, that's not bad there. Always nice to see a fissure next to some mountains and stuff. Potentially a really good campus up in there that you can grow to at some point. Yeah, obviously right there you got a really nice campus. +4 out of the gate. Those of you might be wondering, how does it say +4 right there? We're using a mod called it's like what's it called? Pin. It's a pin advanced
detailed pins.
Detailed pins. It's called detailed pins. I'm actually going to do a video very soon talking about the best mods to play in your game to help with your interface and help with your experience with the game. But this one's called detailed pins, and essentially what it does is it does a calculation for what the adjacency will be for different stuff like that.
I lost my campus.
Oh yeah, it's a good point. I forgot about the horse ended up
+6.
Yeah, there was a really nice campus right there. Now you're going to be able to make another really good campus. Well, I guess that's a good point. There's no more trees around, so it's not going to be breathtaking down below. That's an interesting thing. Shoot, I never thought about the horses potentially being in the wrong spot. That's something you could have done as Australia, is just rush to campus no matter what in the situation to lock that in before you're worried about your horses. Yeah. And the thing is that you didn't have to have that 2-2 tile simply because you're going to grow to a 2-2-3 Coco and then another 2-2-3 Coco.
Yeah. So that's a discussion. Like, I wasn't even thinking about that when we were talking about, like,
yeah, I did.
Animal husbandry versus the irrigation. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, it's a good thought. Yeah, I mean, some people might even think at this point, you know what? Let me start this over.
That's right.
You know what? If you're out there and that's what you want to do, but there's going to be plenty of value to be had in other campuses and stuff. So yeah. I wouldn't necessarily worry about it that much. So anyway, yeah, I think we can keep on moving along here, and then as we get some settlers out, we'll be able to discuss a little bit more about decision making and things like that. Pantheon choice. Now, in this particular case, I would say culture from plantations, festivals is really good in this situation. Goddess of festivals, it's gonna, because we're rushing to irrigation. We're gonna try and get a builder out here quickly, and then the ability to get that early culture. There's, like, people always say, there's a saying in Civ 6, production is king. But to me, production is king, but nothing's more important than early culture in the game. And so there's certainly a lot of value in that. If you have lots of pastures to build, certainly building pastures is really good for open sky. Any Pantheon that can give you extra production is huge, of course. If you have a Pantheon that's going to give you really good faith production is not a bad option. But in this case, yeah, I don't think I would doubt going with Goddess of the Festivals all day long here, because we're just going to focus it and get there quickly.
And all of a sudden, I can't find it. I don't know why.
Oh, it's like 3 up from where your pin is right now. It's got the culture symbol there.
Oh yeah, I don't know why I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised. this shows you like how fast I got this. I almost never see this.
Oh, the free settler. Well, there would be there'd definitely be an argument for grabbing the settler here.
No, I definitely would go with.
But there's just too much value in the culture. I guess it's a crazy amount of culture we're going to get early in the game.
Well, I guess 1, 2, 3, and then
3 in the capital, and then on our expands we're going to have 3 or 4, and or 5 for that matter. You got on your home continent you've got 3 plantation luxuries. I mean, we're just going to keep finding more places to find free culture. So there you go.
Towards religion.
Boom, boom. So, certainly your settler is going to want to head south here.
Are you sure? I mean, look at all this land. Look at all this land up north.
Yeah, right. I know. Now, one thing I would do here is so when you go ahead and click that, yeah. But what's going to happen is, I think we actually have all the information. I was going to say you could click one tile to the right with your settler as well, but you won't gain any more information, so it's not a big deal. Yeah, just keep.
I don't think. What turn are we on? We are on 11. So this scout might I'm actually considering coming back just to make sure that this scout I don't accidentally run into this barbarian scout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that barbarian camp's going to have water units. Okay. It looks like it's got surrounded by at least 4 tiles. Anytime a barbarian camp's surrounded by 4 water tiles, it spawns water units anyway. So I would just keep exploring the land.
Here's one of these choice ones.
Mm-hmm.
What I would do here normally is I would go monument, right? Because I'm thinking like my irrigation's 7 turns off, and if I can build builders in 3 turns, like I could still build this monument and come back and build this builder and have him ready to go out and deal with this. Would you do like another settler?
I would probably go with another settler.
Okay.
But there's nothing wrong with monument here. I would definitely get another settler out. I would just have the patience. You've got your 2 scouts out. You've got lots of information. You're really safe. Obviously, you don't have any neighbors to worry about. I would definitely go with another settler here, and send them down because we're going to be able to find another city down south here to settle. And yeah, there's just too many good tiles here not to just get cities down here and let them start flourishing.
So here. Actually, so let's do this next. Hold on, let me just double check I have all my turns because this is actually something I think we talked about a little bit. Was no, I want you to still.
Yeah, maybe fortify one more turn, get a little bit extra health. And
yeah. You're fine. Okay.
Oh.
That was funky. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. That was kind of weird that we.
I don't know if it's one of that. All
right. I think I've noticed that before though with her. I don't know if it's some sort of a glitch or something like that, but with just that one character sometimes. So we met her. I don't know where, but she's around. Oh, you met her on the continent, which is good. That gives you the boost of foreign trade.
Did I accidentally click off the thing telling me that I met her?
Yeah. I think you closed it down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because I do that sometimes where like the game just like you meet somebody like where the hell did I meet them? That's my
that's the thing is you can't always tell exactly where it is that they came by you.
But at least it'll zoom you near it. Like you're like, oh, that's where it is.
Yeah, it's weird with Egypt. I don't know what it is, but somebody's mentioned that to me before where they're playing. It was just Egypt where you couldn't see their ribbon and their conversations that you were having with them. So it's kind of weird, but.
She didn't pop up. That's true.
Yeah. I don't know. Somebody else has said that to me before, and I don't know what it is, but we'll play through it.
Watch it. Is she even in here?
No, there's not really a way to get into it.
That's the spectator. Just ignore that, people. Sorry.
Oh, you have spectator mod on.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be the reason why you're getting the glitch. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's left over from some of the community games. I forgot.
Yeah, when we played the community games, you just had it on and forgot to turn it off. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do this one.
Yeah. I think it's time to hit. You got good health. They should get a pretty positive result.
He's killing.
It's tough when he's fortified and on a hill.
Do they actually? Is this purely aesthetic, or does that even help them too?
No. That's actually just because that's just Cliff So a hill next to
Well,
to a
I'm talking about
coast.
like the fact, like, do they do anything for the fact that they like, oh, this is like a fort or anything like that? I
Yeah,
don't think they do.
this is the fact they're fortified, not the fact there's a fort there. It's
Okay.
the fact that they're fortified in place is giving them full fortification. Gives +2, then +2 again.
So here's a campus, because I'm pretty sure you can tell. I think this looks like this wraps around.
Yeah, there's at least 4 there, so that would definitely be a breathtaking appeal. Um,
Jag är Kristina, Sveriges
Sweden?
patron av...
It's Sweden. And we are playing on
Okay.
continents, right? So there's
Yeah.
a good chance that those are the 2 people that you're on a continent with that we know of.
So this is one, because most of the time I tend to not play like overly aggressive or I care. So I almost always. Is there ever a reason, like,
I've always said it's an honor to meet you. There is an opinion meter, and it gets harder and harder the more difficulty you're playing on to have positive opinions. There's a bigger negative modifier to higher difficulties, and so there is like a proportional. I don't know what the exact proportional chances are of getting good versus positive first meetings and stuff, but I always click it's an honor to meet you and we'd love to sample your hospitality, blah blah blah. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I've always done it. I think I've seen some people do it. I'm like, is there any reason? But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah,
wait, did this?
You already moved. Well, you're gonna move this turn, yeah. So there you go. You can move to there.
All right. So here's my question.
Yep.
So let's, because we're gonna divide up this land down here. Oh, hello. What is like? Because now we have this, right? So we have, what is kind of like the way to divide this up? Like, do I try, like, you can try to come, we try to come here and like capture this side of it, and then I have over here potentially, but with Vatican City, like, what do you think is the best way? Like with 2 cities?
Yeah,
I definitely don't want to go here because I don't want to, like,
you don't want to take up
everything with one city, right?
Yeah. So in this case, I would actually consider the very likely possibility that you can actually get 3 cities in here with all these details. Now, there's nothing wrong with going with 2 cities in this case, but being Australia, you get a lot of value out of the coast, and you can actually get some value out of there. And there's actually a way in which you can grab 3 cities here. And actually, so there's nothing wrong with that spot, but in place.
Okay, in place. Okay.
In place where you are now, would be both freshwater and coastal bonus that you get, and you're gonna have a 2/2 tile to work right out of the gate with 3 gold, and you'll grow into 4/2 tiles, and you'll have a good harbor potentially and things like that. And then what you can actually see is there's actually 2 more cities you can put here. There's another one on the coast. Down by the turtle, to the left of the turtle, you could potentially
right here
that would give you a 2/2 base if you sell there. But if you, and this is just potential options. I'm just putting this in as one option. So if you put Word City there, well, on that tile there, so left of the turtle, you could also get another one up to the north on the 2/2 jungle.
Oh, the jungle. Okay. Let's see. So you're saying here?
Yeah, and that would actually get you 3 cities. Just like that.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I'm gonna see soon what this is.
Yeah,
gonna be.
and so that's not necessarily the way you could go with 2 cities, absolutely, but the value of settling more quickly as well with your first settler is also something to talk about. Because if you were to settle next, you could either settle next turn or you can settle 2 turns from now, because it takes another turn to step on the hill and then have to wait and settle. You know what I mean? So settling 2 turns quicker, you're starting your monument faster, you're working the cold faster, and of course the freshwater means you have even more housing, and so yeah, there's pretty good value in it for sure.
It's actually kind of, I probably would have gotten 2 cities out of this. I don't think I would have thought to like squeeze the 3, and I almost think there's potential depending on what happens when I step over here, like what happens on this side.
Yeah, there's a potential that you could have done something.
There's a volcano here though, right? Is there? That's a volcano, right? This has to be a volcano.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, this locust may suffer from eruption of nearby volcano, so I'm assuming this.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see the little symbol there. Yeah, so somewhere on one of those two tiles, there's got to be volcano. Yeah.
Because I was also considering like, oh, depending what's over here, maybe I flip over. But if it's going to be volcano, like this probably
this is. I think this is. This is probably how I'd set it up. If people prefer to play with less cities and bigger spacing, then certainly there wouldn't be anything wrong with squeezing them a little bit tighter together and getting to. But I think certainly with Australia, you want to try and get coastal cities in this case. So, a very quick delegation. That's always nice. Making friends.
Is it worth dropping her a delegation like right now?
It's not necessarily that big a deal. I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. It does give you a positive opinion. Oh, there's Muscat. It will increase their opinion. So if you actually click on her, unfortunately we've got this glitch with Egypt, but if you click on her and then click on the heart right there, it'll tell you what the thing is. So right now you've basically gained the +1 that you see. It says unknown reason. That's just the first impressions. It's not telling you that, but when there's only one there, you've already made a first impression. In this case, you've gotten a +1, which is okay. It's sometimes you get like a +3 or +5. If you're playing on harder difficulties, like if you're playing on deity, it's almost always like a -5 or a -7. So it just becomes very difficult to make friends. And so sometimes people will send a delegation just to keep them from being angry at you, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. So yeah, I would settle in place there for sure.
God, this barb camp is just
it's rough.
Units.
But if you hit, you're gonna get a promotion next turn, so you'll get to be able to make a promotion, and then you'll definitely be able to kill him very easily. So, yeah. So what does Muscat want for? It's always good to check to see what
they want to trade.
Oh, they want to trade route. Okay, so that's an interesting one. Potentially, we could get that done. We'll be able to open up a pathway to them and do that. So something else I would like you to consider here. So we got a settler coming out in 3 turns. Is I would consider starting to settle in the direction of your neighbor, just because if you set like all these cities to the south are good and all, but if you settle all those and then after you settle all those, the next thing they've settled a couple of these really good cities, you've essentially lost the chance to get those. So discussing the options for settling towards them is definitely something to consider in this case. Now, we've settled our first city. And so I want to talk a little bit about the things you want to do when you settle a city. Now, in this case, we can't place a district. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But generally speaking, when you settle a city, you want to first of all place a district, whatever district it's going to be, assuming you've got the tile available in that. But settling a district, placing the district gives you a lot of value the earlier you do it, because the cost of districts goes up every time you complete technologies. It just proportion. There's an equation that occurs that increases the cost of districts each time that you complete technologies. So the sooner you lock it in, as soon as you place it down, that's the cost, and it will never change. So placing it is extremely important. In this case, like I said, we can't do that yet, so we won't worry about it. But you do want to start a monument. Monument's almost always the first thing, unless you've got a situation where you've got you can get a builder out and it's going to be really super cheap or whatever. Okay, that's fine. I was just going to say,
sorry.
No, it's okay. I had a couple more things that I wanted to talk about real quick.
You keep talking. I'm just doing some stuff in the background. I'm not gonna make any major moves. Don't worry.
Okay, and don't hit next turn yet.
Okay, no, I won't.
So, like I was saying, monument first is almost always the case. Sometimes if you have really good tiles to improve with your builder, you might consider going with the builder first. There's certain circumstances if you're playing with certain civs where there's certain tiles, certain things you can do with your tile improvements that are really, really valuable. You would consider it potentially. But in this case, it's a kind of a zero doubt situation that we would go monument first. Early culture is so very strong. Now, what I wanted to talk about was your gold. We are, of course, working some nice little cocoa tiles and making lots of gold, and we've actually got enough gold we could spend. What I would like to do here is buy a builder, because first of all, we can get a culture bomb as we're Australia, and so we can immediately buy a builder and improve that pasture and make your culture bomb. And also, we're moving towards getting irrigation, of course, like you're pointing out there, and we're going to get culture. And so, one of the really big valuable things about your Pantheon is if you're going to get a Pantheon that comes from a tile improvement, you want to make sure you get value out of it as soon as possible, right? You don't want to sit around for 5 turns or 7 turns or whatever to make the builder from scratch and then spend the turns getting up on the hills and improving the tiles. Next thing you know, you've waited 8 or 10 turns just to improve a tile for the culture. The sooner you get the build, that's why a couple turns ago there, when you would have had enough, I wanted to stop you and say, get the builder quick. But in this case, you go ahead and buy the builder, no problem. And then next turn you'll be able to get the horse going, and then like I said, if you the timing of when you do this, if you'd have bought that builder a couple turns ago, you would have been able to get the horse done already and been literally standing on, let's say, the cocoa, one of the cocos there. You would have literally been able to be standing on that cocoa when the irrigation came in, and then you could just boom, hit it, and then immediately bam, there's your free culture, right? And then you'd be moving to the next one, bam, more free culture. So certainly there's so much value, and also getting these cocos up and running means a whole bunch more gold, and means being able to buy another builder. So we could potentially buy a builder in Melbourne, and Melbourne's, as we can see, of course, has got all kinds more irrigation usages. So super duper valuable. And another thing actually that we could do, you know what I'm just thinking? It's weird when you're not actually moving the things around. We could potentially, if you were trying to be super efficient, we could actually turn off irrigation right now and switch to something else. Especially because we're making so much gold, we're going to be able to buy builders really quickly. We could actually get this rice with this builder and be able to finish irrigation. Now, the value...
He's out of position a little bit, though. I guess he could come down to this one.
Right? Yeah, and then he could come down to the... or he could go to the turtle as well and get another luxury up, because you're going to make a culture bomb, so the culture, the turtle tile will be open, so that'd be another luxury. And so if you get the cocoa... You're going to be able to be ecstatic.
I could switch to sailing, right?
Yeah, I would switch to sailing here, honestly.
Switch to sailing, right?
Yeah, I would switch to sailing in this case, and allow irrigation to get boosted on the rice. It's just an efficient thing to do. I mean, it might not seem like a lot, but 3 turns of science on turn 15 actually has a lot of value. And so instead of wasting time, you'll be doing sailing, right? So yeah, I think we're in really good shape here. The other thing you're going to do is sailing probably into campus is actually probably
that's the positive aspect of
into writing, I should say, for campus. But yeah,
I don't care about that. I don't care about that.
I think you're good. Production in all your cities. I think you're good. Now it looks like we got some water here, so there's definitely some different settling potential there. There's the clear, and you're good to go there. We got a goodie hut here. Cross our fingers. Oh baby,
Crater, and
free
that's where we're going.
Trader. You could definitely do that for the Envoy in Muscat, and do
you come down Melbourne?
Well, here's the thing, right? Is early on there's really good value in doing an internal. You could send it. I would, if I was going to do, I would think of one of 2 things. Muscat's pretty valuable if you're going to build a lot of commercial hubs.
Is that what they are?
Yeah. So Muscat, what it does is you get an amenity in cities that have a commercial hub district. We probably will build some commercial hubs, but we're very likely going to build harbors as well. So it's not a super duper value. So an internal trade route is actually a really good value here. And a lot of times I would decide, do I want, does my second city need help or no? And
because my second city is 2-1, right? So now I make it into a quote 3-2, right?
Yeah, you'd be adding a food to production because you don't have any bonuses on your base. Without culture, you're not going to expand to the 4-2 tiles until you get the monument done, so that's a little ways away. So if you transfer that trade route to Melbourne and send it back to the capital, it's going to be a 1-1 bonus. So that's probably what I would do in this case. If that was a city state that was like super duper valuable and you want to get that free envoy really quickly, it's great. Or if the trade route was going to make a really good road for you. But in this case,
I'm not going this way too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm probably going this way.
Yeah, so the road probably wouldn't have been all that valuable anyway. You could have sent a trade route to Stockholm, which might have been a decent road, but the extra food and production boosting your cities early is just a lot of good value in it. So that's definitely what I would say I prefer to do here. Now, as far as making decisions on scouting here, so this is something that people might not think about, but in this case, the position of your warrior, to the right of your warrior up there, he could quite easily just grab that little bit. So instead of wasting time with your scout...
I'm going this way.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people might not think about that, right? It's like, oh, there's a little piece of land I want to grab here. But kind of moving your units about, intelligently, and just kind of thinking about it instead of just instinctively clicking wherever the closest piece of undiscovered land is pretty smart. So that's good call.
I started coming this way. So I remember, like, I was over here with a scout and I started coming this way because I was like,
you didn't think about the warrior as scouting because he was still killing a barb camp.
He was still scouting. Like, I was like, all right, I don't know when he's going to free up there. Like, who knows what happens? Who knows what happens there? So I was like, oh, I'll come over here. And I saw the goody hut. So I'm like, all right, I'll grab the goody hut. And then once that was done, I'm like, all right, I don't need to go here anymore because I'm like, I'm just going to bring this warrior. I'm going to bring him around. Yeah.
Another thing to consider too is you're probably 14 turns or so from being able to go to the next era, and there is a barb camp down south that could potentially be the difference between golden and not. Now that warrior is a long ways away. I don't even. Like, that's probably, like, you could see how many turns it is. Like, yeah, I don't even think you can get there. So that warrior's not going to be impactful there. So the best case scenario is you could build a unit to go kill that. You could, like, maybe build a... That's, yeah. It's hard to say.
Like, early on, like, is the first golden age...
Well, that's the thing, right? Without BBG, the first golden age without faith production is almost no value.
And I mean normal, which is, I think that's...
Yeah, well, I mean dark could be better, but it's almost impossible to get dark age in the gold and in the first gold because you're picking up goody huts alone is just generally going to catch you out of it. We still could get lucky, you could discover a wonder, and still think things happen to give you a little bit of value. But
I'm gonna slip through here. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We got to go check my Civic.
Yeah. So in this case, I think I would definitely go to foreign trade. Early Empire. We just finished foreign trade. Go to early Empire in this case. Yeah. Absolutely.
And hopefully, like once I get the
that'll come way down.
Down. Yeah. Once
you're gonna get monuments. You're gonna get monuments done. You're gonna get things that you're also gonna get the boost, of course, because you're gonna get to pop a total of pop 6
soon.
Before too long, you're going to lose a pop at your capital, but then you'll get it back, and you'll be 2-2 and 1, or 2-3 and 1, or something like that. Before too long. So you've got your builder here, and this. Oh, okay. It's just because you got your builder that just popped out here. You can make your pasture, which is of course going to give you a boost or whatever called a culture bomb because you're Australia.
So here's one where it's like, all right, I've decided the game's like, all right, I want that. And like that makes sense, right? Like that
it does make sense because you've focused food and production, and it's saying let's value production over faith. And to be honest with you, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would not want the tile working the 2-2-1 faith tile because the production is way more valuable than one faith. It's not even close to
I was actually just checking. I couldn't remember I had locked in or not. And I'm like, let me just go look.
I think at one point you did, but then when you completed a settler, it knocked you down to one population. It kind of like one population, then back up to 2. The game kind of registers the 1, then back up to 2 immediately, and so it immediately gets rid of one of your locked tiles.
Yeah.
So that's why it was out of.
That's where I got lucky.
Yeah.
But it could have not, and like I'm like, all right, now I'm not working a thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Sometimes if people don't want to micromanage, locking in tiles can backfire a little bit sometimes. But it's not that big a deal.
I'm coming here. I just want to make sure. I haven't missed anybody. He's dipped there.
Yep.
Oh wait, what's this? This is just yelling about.
This is your policies now. In this case, I think you're probably still good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's just yelling at me because I didn't. I wish you could be like. That's the one thing that I wish they would do is like sometimes you come in like, no, I don't want to do anything, and that bugs me having that explanation.
Oh yeah, just like what's that all about? Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm good. I like what I'm having.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Let's see. Okay.
All right. So, Settler comes out. Now it's time to discuss kind of like your inland choices in this case.
So
now of course you can see here Stockholm's not too far away, so there is a bit of a.
Is this one where you like? This is where you might consider a jump settler. Like, hey, if I really want this, if I really want some of this stuff here, instead of going here and doing,
you might do that if loyalty wasn't quite as big an issue.
Yeah.
I think in this case, it's the better idea is to kind of get an idea where you're going to settle first, and then make a choice off of that. So if you come out of the settler view for a second there,
sure.
So just thinking about where you can settle now, if we're settling there,
we're gonna settle here.
Mm-hmm, then you start to like I guess it's something that your eyeball kind of starts to grab. Is you can almost instinctively see 3 tiles away, right? And so there's different options here, and it's not none of them are easy decisions. But so you can see here when you're going to look for places to settle, there's a few different things. The actual tile you'll settle on, the question is, okay, am I gonna get any bonus resources, any like bonus yield, right? So if you settle on, like, say, a cattle, boom, that's 3 food instead of 2 as a base, right? Or if I settle on a rice, oh, boom, that's 3 food instead. Or if you settle on the Plains Hill, like we've talked before, that's 1 extra production. And those little things, especially in your first 2, 3, 4 cities, to get them rolling really quickly, like that little bit extra, they grow. If you grow your population 2 turns faster, that means you're working a second tile for 2 extra turns, and then you'll grow to 3 turn population like 4 or 5 turns extra sooner, and then it means you're working 3 tiles that much faster, and all of that just snowballs, right? So any extra bonuses you can get in your base is the first thing you're looking for. The second thing you're looking for is yields for those actual citizens to work. So there's not much point in settling on a 3 food based tile or a 4 food based tile if you're just going to grow into a bunch of 2 food tiles, right? Like kind of where you're pointing there, like there's a rice there. Okay, well there's a 2-2 in the second ring and a 3-1 in the second ring, but you don't want to settle somewhere just for one thing but have no tiles to work, right? So you kind of want to make decisions based off of what
I kind of like this one.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. So
well, I'll tell you. Let's see. Like why I like this one. You can tell me like what you're thinking.
No,
so I like this one just because it steps me into the, because if we went, not that I would go here, but if you went here, it's like, all right, I get these, and then it's gonna take me a while to grow out to these ones. But if I go here, it's like, all right, I get my 2-2s,
yeah.
and then this, and then but I have this like right in that very next expand. And it's like, all right, that's sweet. And potentially I have this campus that I'm like, we were looking at before, and it leads into that.
And I completely agree with the entire analysis there. And there's certainly, like, you got the 2-2 base, you got 2-2 tiles to work, you've got a diamonds that you can mine up and get another 2-2, and then a 2-3 and 2-4 or whatever. And then you've got lots of hills around. Hills are always good to see in your cities and things like that. The one thing I will mention, though, is when you're settling, it's not just about where do I settle this city, but where does the next one go? So we kind of talked about that in the south there when we set up the 3 cities, right? If you didn't think about where all the cities were going, you might have just said, well, I want to settle, in this spot, and you go to that spot. But then you settle there and you're like, oh, shoot, I kind of screwed up being able to settle in another spot. So
but this was easier, right? If she wasn't there, this I think this is the right decision if she's not there, because then that gives me more to play
you have a little bit more to play with.
but she's there.
It's a bit of an interesting situation for sure. So there's the +4 that you marked there, but then there's also what looks like probably like a +7 in the mountains. Right? If you click on this,
If I put up here.
yeah. If you put a pin up there, I'm pretty sure that's going to be plus.
Oh well,
It hasn't.
remember.
It
doesn't
hasn't
show his things.
Yeah, it does. It's so.
Oh,
it's a +3.
Oh no! Sorry. Appeal. I did the wrong thing. Here you go. How?
It's only a plus. So there's only 3 mountains there.
Is this water?
Maybe
this might be open. This might be open.
Might be open. I was thought for sure that would be.
Well, we'll know soon because he's coming around.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's actually good to know. Let's
have a conversation as if that was a +7 or not, though.
Yeah. So, but I mean, in either case, if you're placing a city down, you have to ask yourself: is this taking away a city? Right. So, for instance, settling on that fissure, to the to the left where the +4 is, would actually be quite a good settle as well. It would get
which precludes this.
Yeah, it would exactly. So you have to kind of have that discussion with yourself about, you've done enough scouting. You start to look around and say, okay, how much land do I have to work with? Where am I going to put cities? Do I need to worry about squeezing in that many cities? To the north of your capital, 3-4 tiles north of your capital, what do you really have to settle? You start to think, okay, like we have north, there's a 2-2 base with the horse to the right. If you go just 3 tiles north of your city, no, further to the left there.
Over here.
Yeah, you could settle the 1-2 hill, to the left of it, and then
this one.
This
one.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a plain.
And then you have a horse, and there's some hills around. It's not great, but it's you can settle your 6th or 7th city in there maybe. You'll be able to long term. Maybe you could do a coastal city. You got a couple amber up there, but it wouldn't be a very good city. You'd need some lumber mills far up to the left there. Maybe immediately to the left of Muscat, you'll be able to get a city. We'll see how good that land is. And then the other thing too is you start to discuss, okay, what is the victory condition going to be? Are we going to be trying to get 6 or 8 cities? Do we want to try and get 12 cities? Obviously, more cities is generally good, especially in a science victory.
Well, in here, in the short term, I feel like I'm probably going to get there's some decent 4 to 6 cities that I can get, but there's also a chance I'm going to get squeezed out too, right? Depending on what comes out over here. Mm-hmm. So I might have to start being all right, what else is out there in the world?
There's also a chance maybe there's an island out there with 2 or 3 city potential. But you've got, for what we have marked out, we're going to have 4 cities basically, right? We've got the 3 in the south and that one. And then, we can get maybe 2 or 3 cities straight north. Maybe gets us to 7. Maybe we have 8 with the city to the right. Certainly up north of Vatican City, potentially you could get a city up there. As long as you're able to squeeze Stockholm, I guess, a little bit.
Is this the time to go monument back? Just sorry, now.
I would go monument here for sure. Yep. You got your 2 settlers out. Culture.
I mean, you could conceivably do a builder, but the builder's only 2 turns.
Actually, you know what? Oh wait, you know what? Actually, because our goal. I was going to say monument. So here's the thing, right? We're going to actually be able to buy a builder in 2 turns, right? So we can actually build the monument and buy the builder and have both going. And then, it gives us some options. The other thing to think about, though, is that when you have a culture generating Pantheon, that it's actually not a bad idea necessarily to go builder first, because the builder and the monument can tend to take around the same amount of time, but the builder is going to improve tiles, get you luxuries, and potentially more things. So if you have, say, culture from pastures and you've got a city with 3 pastures in it, then the builder can take around the same amount of time as the monument, but get you 3 culture. right? Which is more than the 2 culture you get from monument. So it's a bit of a an interesting kind of. There's different options there.
I actually, truthfully, I wasn't even thinking about like, and this is what I don't do. I don't pay attention to my gold all the time, so I wasn't paying attention to the idea that I potentially like even in the 2 turns it'll take me to build this monument, or was it 2 turns for the builder? So yeah, technically yours makes a lot more sense because like I get almost 2 for the price of 1. I am paying 100 gold for it, but I'm generating decent gold, but I can get twice as much out of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And getting builders, like buying builders early is good value because they get more expensive obviously as you go along, so you can't necessarily buy them forever. But just it's instantaneously you have the builder and then you can go out. Now in this case we're buying them to go get us culture versus buying them to go get us production. Buying builders to get production is really, really good. But in this case, we don't really have production to go get more than we do to go get cultures. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting call. Like,
actually,
you can kind of do both in this case.
Oh, is that Tundra? I think that's somewhere. I think we just found that.
Yeah, it looks like we do. It is Tundra. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting choice to make.
So let's go back to this. Let's go back to this.
Yeah, we're kind of going on a tangent there.
Yeah, sorry.
So in this case, we're going to go to a mountain there. Okay. I think there's pretty good tiles up to the north. There's a city up where your warrior's standing, probably. So you probably have 3 cities up there of varying degrees of strength. 3 cities to the south is 6.
This just sucks.
You can. Yeah, it's
because I kind of like the idea of trying to like squeeze but it seems like this is such a this might be this is a back settle city, like you come back to it maybe later, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think you don't settle the horse, you settle the tile left of the horse, right?
Yeah,
and it's a 2-2 base. You got a horse there, and there are a fair amount of hills to the left. So, and even to the north, there's the copper and that. Like this, by the time you get a couple builders in there, there's actually a fair amount of production to be had in that city. It's actually pretty. Even slightly above average,
and in a lot of space and this is actually something like I struggle with sometimes. Like, I kind of sometimes like to have this because it's I can just easily put districts there because it's just food. I'm not eating any production.
It's kind of flat open area where you can squeeze districts in. Yeah. So there's definitely good space, and so there's definitely an argument to be made to just optimize.
3
to optimize and go to where you went. And the thing is there's actually what you could do if you ever, depending on Sweden's things, I would actually say there's a chance you could get another city in anyway, depending on how fast they settle, because you're only on Prince difficulty. They're not going to get settlers out as fast. But I would definitely, like where you suggested, I think is a really good city.
This one.
And yeah, and I think it's definitely, especially since you're settling it so early, getting the value of a really high-end city versus maximizing the number of cities is probably better. So I think I would probably settle where you said, and then you still have the options to settle further if you want as well. So
here's good. Okay. All right, we're gonna get ourselves some irrigation.
Yep, there's irrigation. It's all done, just like that. And
I looked in here recently. What is he doing? Oh, he just went there. Okay, so he just went there, which kind of makes sense.
Now,
okay.
Can we, for some...
Yes.
Oh, you know what it might have been?
What do you want to...
Because we were making like 15 gold a turn a second ago. I think it's because we lost population.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that was something like that. Well, yeah. I would have double-checked that because we're actually 2 turns from getting the builder now. Because it's going to be like 105 for that next builder, and we're only going to be at like 103 or whatever. The math of the turn ago was better.
Oh well.
I think if you click, we could potentially get. So this is a really finite thing, but if you click on Canberra, and right now, if you click on the tiles, you could.
Do I move it off the horse?
You could potentially go to that.
I guess it's back up to 13.
13. That's actually a builder next turn.
Yeah.
It versus not. I think I would do that for a turn, to be honest with you. And then that way you've got the builder next turn versus not. A little bit of a micromanage thing, not necessarily something that everybody out there is going to want to worry about too tightly, but just keep, like, this is what I always say to people, right? And I'm going to wrap up this video, I think, and we'll reset, and we can make a second video for those of you out on YouTube. We'll continue to talk about all the different things that can help you get a little bit more efficient, a little bit better at this game. But what I always say to people is, you should get out of the game what you want to get out of the game, right? I used to play Civilization games on Prince difficulty, or just the kind of standard type easy difficulties, almost all the time was how I played it. I usually challenge myself to beat it on the hardest difficulty once or twice, but for the most part, I just played it on the easier stuff because I wanted to build wonders and have a civilization building kind of game. And in this case, it's kind of like, you have to decide if that's what you want to do. Do you really want to challenge yourself to micromanage every last little detail in order to make yourself really... Because if you want to beat deity difficulty, yeah, you can go ahead and buy it. There you go. Perfect. So by switching that gold over, a little bit of a micromanage, but by switching that tile over to the gold for one turn, it got you there. Now, it looks like it cost us the monument for a turn as well. I see. This is the difference between playing versus watching and not seeing all the little details, but it actually looks like it cost us a turn on the monument because
which isn't horrible.
No, it's fine. There'll be lots of carryover production anyway. But anyway, let me just do the wrap up thought here so we can put this thing to bed. The game is all about getting what you want out of it, and if you're not worried about winning the game on the fastest difficulty or the hardest difficulty and the fastest number of turns and grinding it and paying attention to every last little detail on every single turn, then you don't have to do it. And you shouldn't feel pressured to doing that just because, other people are doing it, or that's what I'm talking about. If you want to just be super chill, that's fine. Really what I want people to get from this series, with this coaching session on, Prince difficulty, playing with somebody who's got like 100, 150 hours, which is like a lot what you guys have, is just, how do I get the most out of the game for me? So, and by me, I mean you. Is how can you get the most value and the most enjoyment from the game? As far as, I don't necessarily care if I win super fast, but I want to know a little bit more about the game. I want to understand why I'm doing something. I want to understand why I'm, making this decision. Why do I settle here versus there? Just little things to help make my game better. And that's what I want to hit here, right? So the little thing I did there with adding the goal to buy the builder one turn sooner, things like that, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. If you happen to see it and think about it, that's fine. If you don't, there's nothing wrong with that either. So yeah, I think that's basically a good spot to wrap up. We've talked a little bit about the value decisions that can make things a little bit quicker. Having a fun little time here with Australia. Like I said, we're going to come back. I think what we'll do is we'll probably take a little bit of a pause on the gameplay and do a little bit more planning. And when we come back, we'll have a little bit more planning about where things are going to happen, what things are going to do. And then that way you guys will be able to see... sailing's done. You guys will be able to see a little bit of planning, and we'll kind of have those discussions when we come back for the next episode. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Ed, for
thank you
and enjoying. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.